Namaskar. Well, ahead of this landmark winter session of Parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for healthy discussions on all issues for the development of the nation. The Prime Minister put into focus the importance of this session, being the 250th Parliament session of the Rajya Sabha. And also, the 26th of November is Constitution Day, and this year is 70 years since the Constitution was first approved. It came into effect 2 months later on Republic Day. The Prime Minister called upon fellow MPs to ensure Parliament's success. And we'll be focusing on the first day of the Parliament session. Let's begin first with the headlines. Landmark winter session of Parliament commences with special debate on 250th session of the Rajya Sabha. Chairman Venkaiah Naidu gives 10 suggestions on improving Rajya Sabha's role. Prime Minister highlights diversity of the upper house, says the Rajya Sabha is representative of India's diversity. Ahead of the Parliament session, the Prime Minister says that the government is ready to discuss every issue, expresses the hope of a meaningful winter session, highlights the importance of the 70th year of the Constitution as a big opportunity to create awareness among the people. New MPs take oath, rich tributes paid to deceased MPs on the first day in Lok Sabha. The House sees opposition create a ruckus over many issues on the first day itself. The Lok Sabha discusses the bill to amend the chit fund system in the afternoon. There's still no clarity on government formation in Maharashtra. The NCP chief Sharad Pawar meets the Congress President Sonia Gandhi and discusses the political situation in the state. Refuses to comment on a tie-up with the Shiv Sena for government formation. Justice Sharad Arvind Bobde takes oath as the 47th Chief Justice of India. President Ramnath Kovind administers the oath to the new Chief Justice, who will have a 17-month term. Environment Secretary holds a meeting with states to deal with pollution in Delhi NCR. Launches a fortnight-long campaign to crack down on those polluting anti-pollution norms, violating the anti-pollution norms. Officials to be held answerable for any lapses. The Environment Minister uses an electric car to reach Parliament to reduce pollution. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is sworn in as Sri Lanka's new president and says his country wants to maintain friendly relations with all countries and remain neutral towards international powers. Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece lifts the ATP World Tour Finals title, defeating Dominic Thiem. Tsitsipas is the youngest ATP Finals champion in the last 18 years. And here's our top story. As we said, this is a landmark session of the Rajya Sabha. It's the 250th. Now, on day one, the upper house looked back at its journey so far. Truly, the House of Elders has many years of experience, being a continuous house that doesn't get dissolved. Members sit for terms lasting 6 years, and every 2 years, a third of the members change or are up for re-election. So the House Chairman, who is the Vice President of the country, lauded the House's rich contribution, but cautioned about flaws creeping in. He made suggestions, in fact, for its better functioning, and Prime Minister took part in the special discussion, highlighting the continuous nature of the House and its representation of India's diversity. Here's more.
The landmark 250th session of Rajya Sabha began on Monday with a special discussion on the role of Rajya Sabha in Indian polity and the way forward. Chairman of the Upper House, M. Venkaiah Naidu, initiated the discussion. Setting a cautionary tone, he said that Upper House has played a significant role in the socio-economic transformation of the country during its journey of last 67 years, but all is not well.
This momentous occasion is an opportune time for collective reflection on the journey so far and sincere introspection over the missed opportunities. This is warranted so that we don't repeat the mistakes, if any, of the past. We need to learn from the experience of the last 67 years, and if we don't, there is an inherent risk of making ourselves irrelevant.
The chairman put forward 10 points that need deliberation, including adequacy of the number of sittings, norms to ensure wider and equitable participation of members in the debates, ensuring that members with right background and abilities to enrich debates are sent to the House, ensuring self-discipline for orderly functioning of the House, and technology adoption to improve efficiency and ensure more lively conduct of the proceedings of the House. Next, the Prime Minister spoke in the House. He began by congratulating everyone present and lauding everyone who contributed to this journey of the August House. Prime Minister said that while the lower house is rooted in ground realities and reflects them, the upper house is far-sighted and visionary. He said, the Rajya Sabha is eternal and diverse, unlike the Lok Sabha. Looking back at the legislative journey of the House, Prime Minister Modi lauded it for its maturity in passing the Triple Talaq Bill. He said it was this brave House that passed the reservation for economically weaker sections in India as well. Even GST became a reality after it was passed in the Rajya Sabha. Prime Minister highlighted that the role of Rajya Sabha in furthering unity of the nation when bills pertaining to Article 370 and 35A were passed. He said that Rajya Sabha is about checks and balance, which is essential for any democracy.
राज्य सभा एक प्रकार से चेक एंड बैलेंस का विचार उसके मूल सिद्धांतों के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, लेकिन चेकिंग और क्लॉगिंग इसके बीच अंतर बनाए रखना बहुत आवश्यक होता है। बैलेंस एंड ब्लॉकिंग इसके बीच भी हमें बैलेंस बनाए रखना बहुत आवश्यक होता है।
Prime Minister said that Upper House, as the Council of States, enables the Parliament to further the spirit of cooperative federalism.
देश का विकास और राज्यों का विकास ये दो अलग चीजें नहीं हैं। राज्य के विकास के बिना देश का विकास संभव नहीं है और देश के विकास का नक्शा राज्यों के विकास के विपरीत होगा तो भी राज्य विकास नहीं कर पाएंगे। और इस बातों को ये सदन सबसे ज्यादा प्रतिबिंबित करता है, जीवंतता के साथ प्रतिबिंबित करता है।
Prime Minister appreciated the BJD and NCP for respecting dignity of the House even while registering their protest.
दो दलों का आज मैं उल्लेख करना चाहूंगा, एक एनसीपी और दूसरा बीजेडी। और किसी का नाम छूट जाए तो मुझे क्षमा करना, लेकिन मैं दो का उल्लेख कर रहा हूं। इन दोनों दलों की विशेषता देखिए, उन्होंने खुद ने डिसिप्लिन तय किया है कि हम वेल में नहीं जाएंगे। और मैं देख रहा हूं एक बार भी उन्होंने एक भी सदस्य ने नियम को तोड़ा नहीं है। हम सभी राजनीतिक दलों को सीखना होगा, इंक्लूडिंग माय पार्टी।
Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh also stressed on the role of Rajya Sabha in maintaining checks and balances.
The Rajya Sabha represents a crucial component of the constitutional system of checks and balances. We normally think of checks and balances as operating the different branches of government. However, the Rajya Sabha has a central role to provide checks and balances to a majority government in the Lok Sabha.
Several other leaders also made significant points during the discussion.
This house, sir, is a very good sample or representation of the federal setup. Because as every other member has spoken, the states, it is called as Council of States. And those people who can contribute to the society or to the nation at large and who are not in the thickest political fray, or who cannot or doesn't want to enter into the electoral fray, this house gives a space for them.
The Rajya Sabha is unique because I don't think any other country in the world would have a council of states. There could be another house, a senior house, an elder's house, but a council of states is specially, uniquely designed to keep the federal structure of our country intact.
The first day of the winter session in Rajya Sabha began with several obituary references to leaders like Arun Jaitley, Dr. Jagannath Mishra and Gurudas Das Gupta. The House was adjourned till lunch as mark of respect. With Parliament team, Newsnight desk, DD India.
So it's the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha, and let's take a look at the Rajya Sabha's journey thus far. And well, the 13th of May 1952 was the first sitting of the first session of the Rajya Sabha, the 13th of May 1952. And there have been a total of 5,466 sittings of the Rajya Sabha since 1952. So we've seen a total of 3,817 bills passed so far, And of that, well, 2,282 members, in fact, have been elected to this House, and 208 of them have been women. Also, 137 members have been nominated to the House since 1952. So let's also try and understand some of the important bills. So 5 bills have been passed by the Lok Sabha, which have been rejected by the Rajya Sabha so far. So the Rajya Sabha has rejected 5 of the bills passed in the Lok Sabha. 120 bills passed with amendments. The Rajya Sabha returned several bills with amendments. The first bill was the Indian Tariff Second Amendment Bill. It was passed in the first session. The Special Marriages Bill, which is the first social reform bill, which was passed by the Rajya Sabha. So, apart from this, we must also recall what the Prime Minister said today ahead of this session, because it's an extremely important session. The Prime Minister making important points. He emphasized how it's the last session of 2019, and it's important also because it's the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha. He also brought into focus another important aspect, because we celebrate 70 years of the Constitution of our country during this session. He says unity, integrity, diversity, and the beauty of India are all witnessed within the Constitution of the country. The Constitution is the driving force of the country. So he thanked all the MPs for the smooth functioning of the House thus far, which is extremely important, because he wants now frank discussions on all issues in the House. That's how democracy can improve and function. And also, it's necessary to have the best debates there, the best debates in the House. So he's called for enriching the debates in the House. So let's also look at what happened in the Lok Sabha today. While arriving for the winter session of Parliament, in fact, the Prime Minister, as we said, spoke to the media about his expectations from the session, but he emphasized the importance of the session, as we said, and he appealed to members cutting across party lines to ensure the smooth functioning of the House. Here's a report.
At the very onset of winter session of Parliament on Monday, Prime Minister Modi appealed to all members to play a positive and active role in ensuring that the House functions smoothly without disruptions. Interacting with media ahead of Parliament proceedings, Prime Minister emphasized that the government is willing to take up discussion on any issue in the House. He expressed hope that, like the monsoon session, this session will prove to be crucial for development of the nation.
हम सभी मुद्दों पर खुल करके चर्चा चाहते हैं। उत्तम से उत्तम बहस हो, यह आवश्यक है। वाद हो, विवाद हो, संवाद हो, हर एक कोई अपनी बुद्धि शक्ति का प्रचुर मात्रा में उपयोग करें और सदन की चर्चा को समृद्ध बनाने में योगदान दें, और उससे जो अमृत निकलता है वो देश के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए काम आता है।
During this winter session, 70th Constitution Day will also be celebrated. The Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, and this year marks its 70th anniversary. Prime Minister Modi urged the parliamentarians on this momentous occasion to make the nation aware about the journey of our Constitution.
ये संविधान देश की एकता, अखंडता, भारत की विविधता, भारत के इस सौंदर्य को अपने में समेटे हुए है, और देश के लिए वो एक चालक ऊर्जा शक्ति है। तो संविधान के 70 साल अपने आप में इस सदन के माध्यम से देशवासियों के लिए भी एक जागृति का अवसर बन सकता है।
The opposition created ruckus on a number of issues in Lok Sabha on the very first day of functioning. Compensation to farmers and situation in Jammu and Kashmir were the prominent issues taken up by opposition. Even as the question hour took place in the midst of commotion in the Lok Sabha, members took up issues during the 0 hour. In the afternoon, the Chit Fund Amendment Bill to regulate chit funds was also taken up for consideration and discussion.
कुल मिलाकर उन गरीबों के लिए है जिनके पास सेविंग का भी या पैसा उठाने का भी और जरिए नहीं थे, ये जरिया उनके पास था। बहुत सारे लोग इसको इलीगल तरीके से देखते हैं, लेकिन मैं कहना चाहता हूँ ये लीगल है। राज्यों में जिनके हमने अधिकार दिए हैं कि जो 100 रुपये कैप थी चिट की, उसको भी हमने दूर किया है कि राज्य निर्धारित करें कि कितनी उसकी कैप होनी चाहिए। तो इससे लाभ मिलेगा उसके सब्सक्राइबर को भी, रेगुलेटर को भी, सबको।
The Chit Fund Amendment Bill will not only increase transparency in chit fund schemes but will also increase security of deposits. The bill has increased the maximum limit of the deposits in chit fund schemes to 3 lakh rupees from 1 lakh rupees for individuals, and for firms it has been proposed to raise it to 18 lakh rupees from 6 lakh rupees earlier. 4 new members took oath on Monday. Tributes were also paid to former MPs, including the recently departed Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj.
हम अपने पूर्व साथियों के निधन पर गहरा शोक प्रकट करते हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि ये सभा शोक संतप्त परिवार के प्रति संवेदना प्रकट करने में मेरे साथ है।
With legislative business being transacted on the first day, hopes are being pinned for smooth conduct of the House in the days to come. The government has put 47 subjects in its legislative agenda, along with 27 new bills in the session. With Parliament team, Newsnight desk, DD India.
So let's put into focus our discussion tonight, and this is it. This is the point in which we are going to be discussing, the focus point. The first day of the winter session is in discussion today, but the importance also of the session itself. We are joined in the studio by 2 senior political commentators and analysts, Ashok Tandon and Sanjay Singh. Sanjay Singh is the political editor of the firstpost.com. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. Mr. Tandon, let's start with you. So you have looked at Parliament over the many years, and with the 250th session now of the Rajya Sabha, how would you look back and see how this House has performed? Briefly, I mean, what would you say, has it achieved its purpose?
Well, it was a very historic day for the Rajya Sabha today because it marked 250th session. A very landmark achievement in Indian parliamentary democracy, because India has an upper house, and in the Parliament Constituent Assembly debate, there was a lot of discussion whether India should have an upper house or not, but the forefathers of the Constitution finally decided to have an upper house. And as the Prime Minister also mentioned, that Baba Saheb Ambedkar, his contribution to Indian Parliament, apart from the contribution in the Constituent Assembly, in the House, was through Rajya Sabha. He was unfortunately, Baba Saheb Ambedkar could not win any Lok Sabha election, which he contested a couple of times, but his contribution to the Indian parliamentary democracy was through the upper house, and so were a large number of stalwarts. In fact, Prime Minister mentioned about Atal Bihari Vajpayee also, who was twice member of the Rajya Sabha, and Dr. Manmohan Singh, who himself still is a member of the Rajya Sabha, was the Prime Minister from the upper house. So I think in legislative business, in very healthy parliamentary discussions, Rajya Sabha has played a very important role. And it has proved that in a federal country like India, we do need a representation from the states, and that's why it's called House of the States.
House of the States,
so therefore, in a federal polity of India, we do require upper house, and that is exactly what the upper house has contributed. And I think it's a feather in Indian democracy's cap that we have come of age in the last 70 years or so. Indian parliamentary system through the functioning of 2 houses of parliament, in fact, is an example for many developing democracies in the world. They look towards Indian parliamentary democracy, and I think we all can take pride in that. That all the contribution made by leaders from various political parties. I remember when we used to cover Rajya Sabha, Mr. Bhupesh Gupta, who never contested Lok Sabha election as CPI veteran, he was such an excellent parliamentarian, and he contributed quite a lot to the Rajya Sabha. Similarly, we can name so many parliamentarians who have done tremendous role in strengthening Indian parliamentary democracy.
Mr. Sanjay Singh, you know, the unique nature of the Rajya Sabha is that it's a house that is never dissolved. It's been in continuous operation from 1952 onwards, and this is the 250th session. So really speaking, it is, you know, it is Parliament being functioning right from 1952 onwards. That's the way it is, the Rajya Sabha. That's the nature of the House. And as Mr. Tandon was saying it also represents the states, which is unique in our country because, I mean, it's not a house of elders as such, it's also the house of states. It has a very crucial role, one would say, even though it's not as important as the lower house in the terms of money bills, in terms of government formation and all. It has a certain role, isn't it? And do you think a role of guiding the country forward and bringing in a lot of experience, do you think it is achieving that?
Tandon Sahab has referred to the importance of Rajya Sabha, and incidentally today Pranab Mukherjee, former president, has written an article about that. He
himself was a member for a long, that's right.
30 years in
5
Rajya
terms,
Sabha.
yes.
And today we have chairman, vice president who has been in Rajya Sabha for a long time.
Right.
So his own experience has also become very valuable, unlike some other chairmen who did not have that kind of experience of Rajya Sabha.
Right.
So Venkaiah Naidu brings in his personal experiences, inputs, how he wants Rajya Sabha. And that was when he was talking about the role, functions and today's importance of day. Also, this is 70th year of adoption of Indian Constitution. So that adds to significance of what the debate that happened, discussion I would say, happened in Rajya Sabha. And about the importance of Rajya Sabha, there are no two ways that Rajya Sabha is very important. Unfortunately, for past few years there was an impression, and rightly so, because situation was slightly different where public perception was forming in such a way that Rajya Sabha, because the present government in previous
did not have a majority,
BJP did not have, when they in first term Modi government did not was in minority in Rajya Sabha, and Congress was in majority there.
Right.
So in some cases, or in most important bills, it appeared as if Rajya Sabha was exercising some kind of veto, and therefore those terms like tyranny of an elected came into vogue. And even parliamentarians wrote about it, they deliberated about it, and also importance of Rajya Sabha.
Certainly.
Now that situation has changed in Modi government 2.0, and incidentally when Rajya Sabha is deliberating on 250th session, this is also time of review, introspection, talking to self, and also for the MPs to deliberate upon how they want Rajya Sabha to be seen, to be perceived by people, because some of excellent parliamentarians have been there in Rajya Sabha
and spent like 30 years. You did mention that, yes.
Precisely, the quality of debate in Rajya Sabha on many occasions were superior than Lok Sabha.
Certainly.
And that has perhaps not always been the case, but Rajya Sabha all in all has a very important role to play.
Certainly. Mr. Tandon, so this session, the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha, it actually comes on the back of a very productive 249th session of the Rajya Sabha, where the House really did very well, and the chairman of the Rajya Sabha is hoping that momentum will continue. But you also, even the Prime Minister alluded to, once his government has taken office and in the 17th Lok Sabha, Parliament has functioned well. The opening session of the current government, which was the budget as well as the monsoon session, was a smooth session. It was highly productive. So one is hoping that continues. How would you look at the first day so far? Do you think that, we are getting that kind of output from Parliament?
No, before that I would like to make a comment on what the Prime Minister also said about Rajya Sabha. Well, it's a house of checks and balances, which is I think one of the main pillars of Indian parliamentary democracy. But he said that checks and balances should not be blocking of the proceedings or the development. I think in that respect Rajya Sabha has a role to play, but on many occasions we have seen, even in the last session which you are referring to, 249th session, on many occasions the opposition also supported the government legislation like the triple talaq. Prime Minister also made a mention of the support which the government got from other benches, non-parliament ruling benches. So I think on many occasions, even if the ruling party will not have a majority in the upper house, various regional parties have, for obvious reasons, because we are a federal democracy where the regional parties also have a role. And in that context, we saw in the last session that many regional parties came out of this and supported the government on vital legislation. Similarly, I think in this session also we will see situation may be slightly better, because apart from one or two controversial legislation like the Citizens Amendment Bill, on many other pieces of legislation which are there in the schedule, there is likely to be support from various political parties. So I don't think, apart from a couple of controversial issues, by and large we see that opposition also, they see reason and support very productive legislation.
Absolutely.
So I think overall the experience has been that Rajya Sabha has represented the states, and it has also taken care of the interests of the states, whether it is northeast or southern states. So I think it's a very perfect combination of checks and balances, representation from the states, and so that federal democracy in India survives.
And talking about checks and balances, Sanjay Singh, when one looks at Parliament and in this in the day and age of television, and when there is Rajya Sabha television and Lok Sabha television, and you can see everything going on live, one tends to feel that whatever's happening in Parliament is only the debates and what's happening in the House. But there are so many standing committees where every parliamentarian seems to have a role in some sense, and these are not really highlighted too much. But political journalists like you will realize, will probably bear this out, that the standing committees play an extremely important role in the checks and balances, isn't it, in the operations of the government?
Yeah, precisely. Standing committees have a very important role, and actually standing committees generally meet when Parliament is not in session. So we do talk about it when the House is in session, the wastage of it or the productivity of it. In last 249 session and also of Lok Sabha, first session of 17th Lok Sabha, that was a very, very productive session. But talking about parliamentary standing committees, see, you have some permanent standing committees and then ad hoc committees, and then you have select committees, or some bills are referred to those committees. What at times happen that mostly in Rajya Sabhas, at times in Lok Sabha, not so much in Lok Sabha these days for last 6 years, because BJP is in brute majority out there in Lok Sabha, that at times for delaying tactic for a bill, the opposition uses that as some kind of strategy tool to delay a particular bill or to stall a particular bill so that it is put in cold storage for some time. That is a separate debate, but there is no denying the fact that standing committees do have a role to play.
Let's also look at, the importance that the Constitution plays, because it's the 70th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution this year. Mr. Tandon, without the Constitution, there wouldn't be a Parliament, in a sense. I mean, wouldn't have the sanction or the role. We wouldn't see the structure. Everything really functions because we have a Constitution, and the legislature plays an important role in that Constitution. It's given a very important role. It makes the laws. And when we look at, over the years, the several laws that have been created for governance in our country, and also the way that the judiciary has interpreted those laws, would you see that, in terms of checks and balances of these pillars of democracy, things have been working, the executive, the judiciary and the legislature?
Yes, I think our founding fathers of the Constitution were wise enough to have a written Constitution, because we were a new democracy after independence, and it was important, from considering all aspects of Indian society, to better have a written Constitution. And exactly we have been operating within the framework of the Indian Constitution. Every leader, every statesman, they say that everything is well defined in the Constitution and we have to abide by the Constitution. So a written Constitution has given a very clear direction to the functioning of parliamentary democracy in this country, including functioning of 2 houses of parliament, including functioning of the executive as well as judiciary in this country. So I think having a very strong judiciary with specific powers in the Constitution, it has also helped in checks and balance, because judicial review is something which is very important to have a checks and balance as far as the legislature is concerned, or even the executive powers are concerned. So I think all through since the implementation of the Constitution, we have stuck to the constitutional provisions, and I think most of the time, the governments have also worked within the framework of the constitution.
Absolutely.
And wherever executive or even legislature has tried to go beyond the provisions of the constitution or the powers laid down for them, the judiciary has come into the play. And I must say, in spite of the fact that there is no mention of the free press in India, but the fourth pillar of democracy,
Yes.
that is press in India, its independence since the constitution was implemented has played a very important role. Indian press is one of the vibrant media in the world,
Right.
and that has been acknowledged by our politicians also. So I
Certainly.
think the checks and balances provided in the constitution plus the role played by independent media has
Okay.
strengthened Indian parliamentary democracy, and now we have come of age where a large number of developing countries were also looking towards India. In fact, many of them invite our experts to draft their constitution also. So I think we
Okay.
can feel proud of all what we have achieved in the last 70 years.
Certainly, and Sanjay Singh, well, the role of the media has continued to grow because the media initially was just, the press as it was called. Then it's really now become electronic in very many forms. Social media has been added, and all under the freedom of expression umbrella, which is also mentioned in the Constitution. So the point is that when we look at the functioning of the democracy, the role played by the press, or let's say the media, is continuing to get more and more important. It's growing in a sense. Would you say that?
Yeah, precisely. Social media has given freedom to people who never had a voice to kind
Right.
of tell to the other side. Previously, this was domain of chosen few who would actually communicate from one side,
Right.
whatever they thought or felt or whatever, whether that was real, unreal, their own perception, facts or whatever. Now, with advent of social media and also with diversification of social media,
Right.
print, digital and electronic, I think that situation has changed. Also, whosoever talks about a Ghosit emergency, undeclared emergency, media pe ye prahar and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
I think they all say this thing through media, through various means of media, and then would say that there is undeclared emergency and nobody
Right.
can talk against the government. They would talk everything against government, and then they say that they cannot talk against the
Right.
government.
And
I
they-
think that perception has also to be rectified. I
Okay.
think what happened, Tandon Sahab referred about that, the Prime Minister's speech in Rajya Sabha, where he did mention this particular, not exactly about media, but the situation between blocking the House and balances.
Yes.
Balancing the two. And also the fact that Rajya Sabha was a second house, not secondary house.
That's
and
right.
in that context, if media puts those things in perspective as to how Rajya Sabha has evolved, how there was a time when these things was actively debated among
Right.
the parliamentarians
Right.
themselves, and now the current situation, I think that would be a better service.
So the term of the Rajya Sabha of each member is 6 years, Mr. Tandon. So I mean, if a person has 6 terms, as some members have had, that would be 36 years of of service to Parliament, which is quite an enormous amount. When we look at whether institutions have to adapt to changing times, would you look at, is there need for reform in the Rajya Sabha, you would say? Or is it functioning, because let's say the disruptions have come and that's something new that maybe needed to be controlled in some way or regulated in some way. But to improve the functioning of the House, what kind of reforms do you think are necessary?
No, one reform which I think depends solely upon the political parties is to restrict the number of terms for any particular leader.
Okay.
I remember in the past, not in the distant past, some important political parties had an internal rule that no leader would be given beyond second term. But it all depends. I think certain things, because you have to give chance to many
others,
people,
yes.
you have to give chance to fresh talent, and therefore if some member continues, with due respect to everybody who has played more than 3 terms, but if you have a self-imposed restriction of not more than 2 terms or 3 terms, I think that will be a better proposition, but that's for the political parties to consider. Another aspect which we have seen, was the nominated members phenomena. Many a times celebrities from film and sports were
Yes.
nominated to the Rajya Sabha, but they could not contribute because their
Right.
interest lies somewhere else, and that has been highlighted by the media also by counting the number of days on which so and so attended the session. But I think to give representation to various talents, various
Sure.
fields, art, culture, theatre, and also having
Right.
talent in this upper house requires a relook by the political parties themselves.
Certainly,
So I
certainly.
don't think we need to change any rules or
Sure.
anything regarding Rajya Sabha,
Okay.
but it's for the political parties
Right.
to ponder over it. And in fact,
Yes.
well, if I, without any mention, may I say so, defeated members of Lok Sabha need not be nominated to the Rajya Sabha. That has been a debate which has been going on in Indian parliamentary system for quite some time. But again, it's all depends on the political parties.
A final word from you, Mr. Sanjay Singh. You, quoting the Prime Minister, you said that it's not a secondary house; it's a second house. So, how would you like? What would you think would change that impression that maybe people have that it's a secondary house rather than a second house?
I think quality of debates in Rajya Sabha, some of the debates, as I mentioned in beginning, were of really superior quality. Some very good leaders out there in Rajya Sabha, and some of them were very informative, and also anybody who listened to that was very useful.
Yes.
One reform which the chairman Venkaiah Naidu was talking about, perhaps the bills which originate in Rajya Sabha
Yes.
are there permanently, as the
Right.
house is permanent,
Permanent,
those bills do not
absolutely,
lapse, as against bill originating in Lok Sabha, which are coterminous with term of Lok Sabha. I think some of the bills which originated from Rajya Sabha and landed nowhere in future, that perhaps has to be time barred. I think he has merit in what he is saying or what he is arguing for.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Newsnight and helping us understand the importance of the 250th session of the Rajya Sabha and this important winter session of Parliament. Now, moving on to our next story. Well, after holding talks with the Congress President Sonia Gandhi, the NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar said that the two parties will hold talks with their allies in Maharashtra before taking a decision on government formation in the state. Addressing a press conference, Pawar said that he had briefed Sonia Gandhi about the political situation in Maharashtra and that there was no talk on government formation. Here's a report.
Political churning is on from Mumbai to Delhi over Maharashtra government formation. Amidst a slew of meetings and behind-the-scenes moves, Monday saw Nationalist Congress Party President Sharad Pawar meet Interim Congress President Sonia Gandhi in Delhi. All that the NCP chief disclosed after the meeting was that representatives of both the allies will meet again in 1 or 2 days to talk about government formation. He clearly said that tying up with the Shiv Sena is not being discussed. It's only the NCP and the Congress who are in talks.
We have not discussed with any other political party. We have discussed with Congress and NCP. आज इसमें थोड़ा सुधार इतना ही किया कि जो छोटे पक्ष है जो हमारे साथ थे उनके साथ भी एक बार बहस करेंगे।
सर, शिवसेना बार बार कह रही है कि हमारे पास 170 विधायक हैं, कांग्रेस एनसीपी के साथ हम सरकार बनाएंगे।
मुझे मालूम नहीं 170 की फिगर वगैरह क्या, आप वो बताते तो उनसे पूछना चाहिए।
The Shiv Sena and the BJP, meanwhile, are carrying on with their war of words, engaging in a blame game over people's mandate being belied in the state.
महाराष्ट्र में सरकार बनेगी, कोई नहीं रोकेगा। अभी सरकार बनेगी, शिवसेना का मुख्यमंत्री होगा और कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम जो उसके ऊपर सहमति हुई है 3 पार्टी में, उसके आधार पर राज्य चलेगा।
शिवसेना और हम तो कई सालों से साथ में थे, लेकिन अब थोड़ा कुछ गलतफहमी हो गई और उन्होंने जो अलग भूमिका दी तो हमें तो बड़ा दुख होता, लेकिन अब क्या करें, उनकी पार्टी है, उनके विचार है।
Monday also saw Shiv Sena MPs sitting on the opposition's benches for the first time after the breakup on the first day of the winter session of Parliament. Despite all the meetings and confabulations, government formation in Maharashtra remains in limbo. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Our next story, the Environment Secretary C.K. Mishra chaired a high-level meeting to discuss the air pollution situation in the National Capital Region. Now, the government will intensify its crackdown on those violating anti-pollution norms. Also, air pollution was one of the key issues raised on the first day of the winter session of Parliament. And in an important gesture, the Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar used an electric car to reach the house today.
Given the situation of severe air pollution in Delhi NCR and its adjoining areas, a high-level meeting was held on Monday. Environment Secretary C.K. Mishra chaired the meeting. Chief Secretaries of Delhi, Haryana, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh attended the meeting. Apart from steps to curb air pollution, monitoring measures were also discussed in the meeting. The government will intensify its crackdown on those violating anti-pollution norms.
We will, over the next 15 days, try and completely take over the watering situation so that we are able to really keep the dust down. There is going to be a huge crackdown on any illegal construction. I mean, construction right now is banned. But whenever it opens, construction activities and also on industries.
Amid all these developments, improvement in air quality brought relief in Delhi NCR on Monday, even though it remained in the poor category for the second consecutive day. Sending a green message, Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar reached Parliament House using an electric car to attend the first day of the winter session. Several MPs and ministers chose to cycle down to work on a bright and sunny day.
पर्यावरण का संकट सबके लिए है और सबको मिलकर काम करना है और इसलिए ये इलेक्ट्रिकल व्हीकल की मोदी सरकार की पहल बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। उसमें सरकार सब्सिडी देती है, लोगों को थोड़ी जो कीमत ज़्यादा होती है वो कम होगी, बाकी भी जैसे इसका प्रचलन बढ़ेगा कीमतें और कम होगी। अप्रैल से BS6 कंप्लाइंट व्हीकल्स आएंगे।
Along with air pollution, Delhi is also facing the brunt of water pollution. After the release of a report on the purity of water by Bureau of Indian Standards, politics has also started over it. The issue was also raised in the Lok Sabha after the government said that the centre is ready to form a joint team of officials of Delhi and Bureau of Indian Standards to check the purity of water.
पोल्यूशन की तो बात हो रही है, लेकिन उससे बड़ी जो समस्या है जिसके लिए आज हमारी बहनों ने एक धरना भी किया है और प्रदर्शन भी किया है, वो है पानी की समस्या। खाली खर्चा पानी के जो व्यवस्था के ऊपर करना चाहिए था वो फ्री सब्सिडी में किया जा रहा है और व्यवस्था चरमरा रही है।
हमारा मेन मकसद है कि लोगों को स्वच्छ पानी मिले, पीने का पानी मिले, और जो गरीब लोग हैं जो आरओ नहीं लगा सकते हैं, कुछ नहीं लगा सकते हैं, बेचारे गरम करके पानी पीते हैं, वो भी सही नहीं मिल पाता है। इससे ज्यादा चिंता का विषय क्या हो सकता है? और लोग इसमें राजनीति करते हैं। हम क्या कहते हैं कि आपके माध्यम से हम सदन को आश्वस्त करना चाहते हैं कि आप सब लोग हमारा साथ दीजिए, कोई इसमें पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स नहीं होना चाहिए।
While BJP workers in Delhi protested at various places in the national capital and demanded the state government provide clean water, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal turned the Bureau of Indian Standards report on the water as false and politically motivated. With inputs from Parliament team, Bureau Report, DD India.
Justice Sharad Arvind Bobde took oath as the 47th Chief Justice of India today. Justice Bobde will have a tenure of over 17 months and is due to retire, in fact, on April 23rd, 2021. He has delivered several key judgments, key cases. He was part of the recent historic verdict also that cleared the way for the construction of the Ram Temple at the disputed site in Ayodhya. Justice Bobde had served as the Chief Justice of the Madhya Pradesh High Court before being elevated to the Supreme Court in April of 2013.
I, Sharad Arvind Bobde, having been appointed Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India, I will uphold the Constitution and the laws.
With this, Justice Sharad Arvind Bobde took oath as Chief Justice of India on Monday. He was administered oath as the 47th Chief Justice of India by President Ramnath Kovind. He took oath in English in name of God at a brief ceremony held at Darbar Hall of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several other senior ministers were present at the oath-taking ceremony. Former Vice President Hamid Ansari and former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh also attended the ceremony. Soon after taking the oath, the Chief Justice of India sought the blessings of his mother by touching her feet. She was brought to the President House on a wheelchair. After taking oath, Justice Bobde reached the Supreme Court and took charge there. Hailing from a family of lawyers from Maharashtra, he is the son of eminent senior advocate Arvind Srinivas Bobde. Born on April 24, 1956 in Nagpur in Maharashtra, Justice Bobde completed Bachelor of Arts and LLB degrees from Nagpur University. He was enrolled as an advocate of the Bar Council of Maharashtra in 1978. Justice Bobde practiced law at Nagpur bench of the Bombay High Court. appearing before both the Bombay High Court as well as Supreme Court for 21 years. He was designated as senior advocate in 1998. Justice Bobde was elevated to Bombay High Court on March 29, 2000 as additional judge and sworn in as Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court on October 16, 2012. He was elevated as a judge of Supreme Court on April 12, 2013. Justice Sharad Arvind Bobde has decided several key cases in the past. He was part of the 5-judge Constitution bench which rendered a unanimous verdict to put the curtains down on Ayodhya land dispute. A 9-judge bench of the Apex Court headed by the then Chief Justice J.S. Khehar, which included Justice Bobde, held unanimously in August 2017 that the right to privacy was a constitutionally protected fundamental right in India. Besides, Justice Bobde was part of the 3-judge bench which in 2015 clarified that no citizen of India without an Aadhaar card can be denied basic services and government services. Justice Bobde will have a tenure of over 17 months as the Chief Justice of India and is due to retire on April 23, 2021. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
While hitting out at countries using terrorism to pursue political goals, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh pitched for strong global action against the terrorist safe havens and also steps to choke terror financing. In an address at the 6th ASEAN Defence Ministers Meeting Plus in Bangkok, Rajnath Singh, without naming any country, said that state-sponsored terrorism was not just a painful cancer, but is also the leading reason for unsustainable security. He added that terrorist safe havens will have to be eliminated and their financing channels choked to thwart their cross-border movement to ensure sustainable regional security. The Defence Minister also said that some states were using terrorism to pursue political goals, making regional security vulnerable. On the negotiations for a code of conduct in the South China Sea, Rajnath Singh hoped that the outcome of these talks will be in sync with all relevant international laws, including United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Emphasizing the need to protect the rights of states that are not party to these negotiations, he expressed the hope that the situation will remain stable without the use of threat or use of force or militarization, in fact, of the region. Now, on the Indo-Pacific region, he said that India's vision for it was based on the idea of sustainable security, as it focuses on a free, open, inclusive, and rules-based India-Pacific. The ADMM Plus, it's a platform which comprises the ASEAN countries and its 8 dialogue partners, which includes India. So this grouping focuses its work on maritime security, also counter-terrorism and humanitarian assistance. Around 100 JNU students were detained as they marched towards Parliament on the first day of the winter session of Parliament happening today. So they were demanding a total rollback of the hostel fee hike. The protesting students sat at the road outside the Safdarjung tomb demanding the release of those detained and a meeting with the officials of the HRD ministry. The top brass of the Delhi police tried to initiate a dialogue with them and urged them to not take the law into their own hands. Later in the evening, the office bearers of the JNU Students' Union were escorted by the police to meet the HRD secretary. Now, as the 4 JNU-SU members left with the police officials, the force asked the protesters who were camping outside Safdarjung tomb after marching from the university to go back to the campus. Niti Aayog today released the report Health System for a New India, Building Blocks, Potential Pathways to Reform. Releasing this report, the Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant said that in recent years, India has made significant improvement in the health sector. However, even today, the country's health system is confronted with multiple challenges. He said that India has a unique opportunity to transform its health sector, which lags behind other comparable economies.
There are significant inter- and intrastate differentials, the rising burden of non-communicable diseases. A careful analysis of the state of the health system reveals a story of multiple fragmentism, and we need a consequence of this fragmented provider space is that health records of patients lie buried in manual systems or in some cases disparate IT systems with little standardization, with almost no possibility of interoperability or cross-sharing. Therefore, in the context of India, we have a unique opportunity to transform our health sector, which currently lags behind the performance of other comparable economies. We will be able to save millions of lives.
The co-chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, was also present on the occasion, and he said that the improvement in India's health system in the last decade is very significant. The government has taken a number of steps to successfully cope with the challenges faced by the health sector in the country.
Improvements in the Indian health system over the last decade have been very, very significant. It was referred to that new vaccines have been introduced for diarrhea and pneumonia. The vaccine coverage, even in some of the states where the coverage level was quite low, has been improved quite substantially. Now, almost 90% coverage. TB program is also very ambitious, doing some things here in India that haven't been done anywhere in the world. With polio, and hopefully in the next few years, we'll be down to zero.
And time now for news from across the country. Here's our regional roundup.
Jammu and Kashmir police on Monday claimed to have busted a module of terrorist associates responsible for carrying out blasts in the Arihal area of Pulwama and arrested 4 associates involved in the crime. Senior Congress leader P. Chidambaram moved to the Supreme Court seeking bail in the INX media money laundering case. Chidambaram approached the apex court challenging the judgment of the Delhi High Court, denying him bail in the money laundering case lodged by the Enforcement Directorate. Srinagar-Banihal train services resumed on Monday after being suspended for about 3.5 months following the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. DM of Mulugu in Telangana, C. Narayan Reddy, has initiated a campaign to make the district free from single-use plastics. As a part of the campaign, he is offering the public 1 kg of rice in exchange for 1 kg of plastic waste to make Mulugu district free from single-use plastic. The Sabrimala Lord Ayappa temple received over 3.30 crore rupees as revenue on the first day when it opened for the 2-month-long Mandala Makar Vilakku Puja. Board President N. Vasu said there is a huge increase in the number of devotees this year. We got rupees 3.32 crore rupees revenue on the first day compared to rupees 2.04 crore last year. A marbles-laden truck overturned, killing 6 miners standing on the roadside in Bihar's Gopalganj district today. The accident occurred near Saraiya Narendra village when 18-wheeler truck carrying marbles from Rajasthan turned upside down on the children. And
the co-chairman of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, called on the Prime Minister this evening, and these are visuals of the meeting. Bill Gates, as we know, is in India on he continues to come to India because of support for various programs in the healthcare and the education sectors and the social sectors. And he and the Prime Minister tweeted that it's a wonderful meeting with Bill Gates, always a delight to interact with him on various subjects, and through his innovative zeal and grassroots level work, he is passionately contributing towards making our planet a better place. That's what the Prime Minister has tweeted. A wonderful meeting with Bill Gates, always a delight to interact with him on various subjects. Through his innovative zeal and grassroots level work, he is passionately contributing towards making our planet a better place. Moving on, Sri Lanka's former civil wartime defense chief, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he was formerly the defense minister, was sworn in as the country's 7th president today. The ceremony follows Gotabaya's victory in the presidential elections, which were held on Saturday, in which he received over 52% of the votes, defeating his nearest rival Sajith Premadasa. Rajapaksa, who had in fact promised to secure the country against the militant threats following the Easter bombings this year, has termed his victory as the greatest honor of his life. Meanwhile, at least half a dozen ministers of the current government have resigned in the wake of the presidential election results. A decision on the fate of the government also is expected after the new president has taken charge. Sri Lanka's People's Party has already projected its leader Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister in the event of their victory at the elections. So there's likely to be a change in the Prime Minister as well. Mahinda Rajapaksa could be the next Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Our next story is from sports. Stefanos Tsitsipas has become the youngest winner of the ATP finals in 18 years. Tsitsipas was crowned, he crowned an incredible year, in fact, as he battled back to beat the Austrian Dominic Thiem 6-7, 6-2, 7-6. He's 21 years old, and he's the youngest because the youngest of the 8 qualifiers for the elite season ender, and he displayed resilience and flair in equal measure to claim his biggest title to date. Thiem edged an intense first set full of powerful baseline rallies, but Tsitsipas, the first Greek player to play in this event, was undaunted and responded in style. Thiem broke back to take the showpiece into a deciding tiebreak, but it was Tsitsipas, the crowd favorite, who stayed strong, moving 6-4 ahead and clinching victory when Thiem fired a tired forehand wide. So Tsitsipas becomes the youngest winner of the tournament since Leighton Hewitt, and Leighton Hewitt was aged 20 when he won the tournament in 2001. So with that, we conclude this bulletin. Thank you very much for being with us. Namaskar.